Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the FB4. It's our actual fourth one of the new season, and we couldn't do it last week because we were in no fit state, and we get to that a little bit later. Joining me this evening, I have Marty Sakura, a new guest. I have Grizz, just the normal one, normal Grizz, and I have Ray Dicko Dickinson. We're going to get straight into it. On the screen now, you won't see them lads for a little minute. Don't worry about it. You get them in a second. They're gorgeous. They're all looking great. Really see it. They're amazing looking. Yeah, right. Let's get into it. This one is going to be a preview of the Crystal Palace game. I want to look back on probably the opening 2 weekends of the Premier League, and we'll do a little bit around Liverpool, the expectations we have for the season. And then we go from there. Let's get them all on screen. There we go. Right, lads are all on screen. You all look great. Grizz is afraid to move anything because his wife has left him on his own to do this, and he's afraid of any single wire comes out of anywhere. Grizz is gone. All right, Grizz.
Any technical issues, I'm buggered, mate.
Fucking sure you are. Wearing a plug is a fucking technical issue to you. But anyway, let's get to it. Crystal Palace tomorrow evening, 8 PM, Selhurst Park. Marty, I'm going to come to you first. We were talking off air before we come on, and for me, this is a game that, if you want to, I know it's very early in the season, but if you want to be considered a contender in the league, away to a team of Palace's stature on a Monday night with a hostile enough atmosphere, after seeing your main rivals trash a team today, this is probably a game that you have to go and win. I know it's early, but you have to go and win these games now. Yeah,
I totally agree. Palace is probably one of the more difficult away games. Very hostile atmosphere. They constantly sing, they're constantly up for it. Like you said, Monday night as well. I don't think there's ever a positive play Monday night. We look at it at the moment, like you said, City have absolutely battered Huddersfield today. 6 points, amazing goal difference. Obviously, you look at Chelsea as well, who I think are going to be a surprise contender. They've won, Spurs have won. We've got to be right at it. I think we will win, but I think it's going to be difficult. If you gave me a 1-0 win now, I'd take it. That's how difficult it can be. So I completely agree. It's going to be hard, but we'll do it.
Okay, I like the confidence already. Grizz, I'll come to you next. Marty is fairly confident there. Going into this game, as we're going to come on to all the time, it's still very early, but watching what City done today, does that give Liverpool's players, the inspiration to say, right, okay, they beat a team that will probably be around relegation, I think. Does that give us the inspiration to go, right, they set down a marker, now it's up to us to set a second marker after doing so against West Ham last Sunday?
It's funny, isn't it? We're already talking about must-win games, and it's game week 2. Do you know what I mean? It's like we love doing this to ourselves. Look, it's early doors. Teams are settling in, players are settling in, new players are settling in. Palace away, we've got this we've got this strange relationship with Palace, haven't we? We've actually got a very good record. I think we've won there the last 3 visits. Is it? So
yeah.
Can tell me that? I think is that right, Marty? Yeah. So we've got actually a great record there, but it's still a very hard place. I mean, we were discussing just before. I think Marty was saying he's been there before. I'm going there tomorrow. And they do create a tremendous atmosphere. That crowd, God give it to them. It is one of the more hostile grounds to go to. But, at the end of the day, you're right. Games like this, if we have any title aspirations, games like this, pressure like this, even though it's week 2, pressure like this has got to be part and parcel of it, and we've got to overcome the Palace crowd and whatever and get 3 points. I mean, there's people on social media talking about we've got to go out there 3-4-0 and sort of, set down a marker and go above City on goal difference, blah, blah, bollocks. Give me a 1-0 all day long and I'll take it.
You take a 1-0. Mary's taking a 1-0. Ray, sort this fucking out, will you? 1-0, I'm not having that. Ray, sort it out.
Look, when the fixture list originally came out, I was kind of drawn to this game, and then obviously with the TV switch to the Monday night, it all of a sudden looked a bit trickier. And that was my kind of view before we seen what Liverpool came out and did last week. I think off the back of last week's performance and scoring the goals like we did last week, I think basically, you've got to respect Palace, and I wouldn't be surprised if they scored a goal. But I think we've got enough there. Tomorrow I wouldn't mess about too much with the team. I maybe would bring in Henderson for Wijnaldum, given we know that Wijnaldum has his struggles away from home, and I think we need to start getting some more minutes into Hendo. But I think I don't believe we'll get the four goal win that we need to go back to the top. But I think something like a 3-1 is fairly realistic for tomorrow.
Last week going into the West Ham game, I said, I think me and Ray were like, we're scoring 5. I think I had 5-1, Ray had 5-2. We were at the game. The three of us were at the game. A lot with another load of drunks that came over to Liverpool with us. The best description of two of the lads was they looked like two cardboard cutouts sitting in the stadium. That was the effect on them. It was fucking ridiculous that weekend. It really was. I'm nearly sure I had alcohol poison. It was Thursday before my brain started working again. This week, I always think of this Palace game as I think it's 3 of the last 4 seasons we've had to come from behind to win this game. I'm nearly sure it's been 3 of the last 4 seasons. Palace, like every year, will try hit a big man up front, i.e. Benteke. They'll try play off Zaha, and with the looks like Gomez and Trent playing there now, there's always that, I'll go for these two lads, because no one wants to deal with Van Dijk and Robertson. You're just not getting anything off them. With this game, I'm a little bit more confident. I think people are scared of us like they're scared of City. I just think that people will, come in and say, if we play against these, it's not a good thing. I'm not going to do predictions on it right now. I want to get into more about the lineups, how we think we'll line up, how we think that Palace will line up, and then we go predictions at the end. And then, as I said, we go around expectations and stuff like that for the season. Marty, I'll come back to you. Palace. I haven't looked up who they've signed. I genuinely haven't. But I think it's a fairly similar team to what they had last year. Apart from the long ball at Benteke and trying to get Zaha on as much as they can, is there anything else from them that would worry you going into tomorrow night?
Perfectly honest, no. I think if we, play our game, we beat them. Like I said, I'm confident. I think we beat them easy. They've got a couple of big lumps at the back. Set pieces. In seasons gone by, we've been quite vulnerable at the back, but I think that's gone. I think the one we've got to watch out for is, the Benteke onto Zaha. You look at when we played him back end of last season when we beat him 2-1 and Salah scored late. As soon as we nipped that problem in the bud, unfortunately we conceded the really sweaty penalty from Karius, and they probably should have had another if he hadn't made that good save. As soon as we nipped that one in the bud, they didn't really offer anything for the rest of the game. I just think we got to be careful of them putting 10 behind the ball and breaking them down moving forward. I think if we get Van Dijk on Benteke from the first whistle, they shouldn't really pose many problems, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't know. I can see them getting Benteke onto Van Dijk simply because if you watch Arnautovic last week, he didn't want anything to do with Van Dijk. Everyone in this league will see the other centre half as the weakest one, whether it's Gomez, whether it's Matip, whether it's Lovren. It's just the way they play, because that's the avenue they look at. Get in behind Trent if he's attacking all the time, and get at this less experienced centre back. But look, if Gomez keeps on and playing well, even that avenue might disappear for people. Bridge, you're rubbing your hands together. Palace for you. You're going tomorrow. You're going there tomorrow.
Dry skin, really.
Dry skin? Oh, I'll get you something for that. Is it just on your hands? Is there anywhere else?
Oh, he sorted his feet out the other day, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was an outrageous video you sent us. But Chris, you're going there tomorrow night. When you're going into that ground tomorrow night, are you thinking, yeah, just play? If we play, we beat this. You know, if we play at 80%, we probably beat them. What's your thinking behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I did kind of shit myself in the WhatsApp when I said we're going to a flying Palace because they won 2-0 away at Fulham. Was it Fulham the first game?
Yeah.
But then I watched the highlights, like extended highlights, and it was a usual Roy Hodgson type performance where they weren't that impressive. Fulham were the better team. Again, it's going to be, as Marty said, it's probably going to be sort of. They played 4-4-2 last week. I can't see them playing 4-4-2 against us. I don't know. They might surprise us and go with Benteke and Zaha up front. But I think against us, Zaha will play sort of to the left in between sort of Gomez and Trent territory. As you know, Gav, I'm not the biggest Gomez fan, but I think tomorrow might suit him. I mean, and why I say that in terms of he's more agile, he's more quicker than Lovren. And that's what you need against Zaha, as opposed to sort of Lovren's with your aerial strength and sort of tries to get to the ball first. I think the experience of last year will help Trent, certainly. And I remember us discussing with regards to sort of their tactic, which was from the goal kicks. Do you remember? Straight onto Benteke, who sort of went into that area, and then Zaha on the flick on. And I think that's where their chances and the penalty and the goal, etc., came from. Hopefully, we've learned that the centre-back is allowed to sort of mark Benteke on goal kicks, and it doesn't have to sort of suddenly play right-sided centre-back. You know, like Van Dijk is our left-sided centre-back. It doesn't mean he stays there sort of, whatever happens. I mean, on goal kicks and set pieces, whatever. Hopefully he sticks onto Benteke. I really can't see, and hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me in the arse, but I really can't see any other threat. Andros Townsend's probably going to play on the other side. He does score a worldie now and again, doesn't he? Cutting in on his left. I hope tomorrow's not that day where he scores that worldie. The rest of the team is a bunch of journeymen, isn't it? It's like Tompkins, been around a few games, clubs. Our old mate Sacco, still at Crystal Palace, hasn't been snapped up by Bayern Munich or Barca, when he predicted. So, do you know what I mean? I mean, they've got this sensational new right back, apparently. If someone can help me with his name, by all means. That's it. See, we got Raimundo, the educated one, and the fat back four. What a change! He said it perfectly. Gav wouldn't have fucking had a clue, and then he had none of the other nonsense. But apparently he's quite tasty, isn't he, Ray? He played.
Yeah, he set up the second goal last week, and he did look. He looked decent from the clips that I seen.
Apparently, I was just chatting to a mate from Palace, and he said last two games he played against last season was against United and another big team, and he had both wingers in their pocket, and so he started off again like a house on fire. He was up against Ryan Sessegnon, who a lot of people expected to tear up the place, and apparently he didn't let him move. So that could be an interesting battle up against Mane and Robertson on our flank. So look, we control that aerial threat, the set pieces, which we'll probably come to in terms of our average height of the last game against West Ham was, I think we were very short, weren't we? We were with Gini, Wijnaldum, Keita, and Milner in midfield. I think I personally would change that, but we'll get to that. But as long as we cut out that sort of the crosses and set pieces, I really can't see them opening us up in an open play now. We really should stamp our authority.
Jesus Christ, that's right up there with one of the longest answers you've ever given me. I'll have to check the record books.
Context,
physics, I know, it's all there. Ray, they won 2-0 against Fulham last weekend, and from all reports that I've read, I didn't see the game, I didn't see the highlights, but from all the reports I read was that Fulham were very neat and tidy in the first half. I think over the game did 67 or 68% of possession. But you know, they were their inexperience probably being back in the league hit them badly in the second half. Palace go 2-0 up and seal the game fairly easily. But is there a way for us to get at these? Because from what I can make out, Palace sat back against a newly promoted team and let them come onto them and you know, kind of play Russian roulette with a little bit. I don't think Palace can afford to do that with us, because and the one player I'll touch on and all that would be Keita. On Anfield last week, how that chap finds space is phenomenal. Yeah. And if he finds space on that Selhurst Park pitch and turns against their back four with the other three running ahead of them, I think Palace might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think, you know, the other thing about Palace tomorrow, it's kind of, dare I say it, dare I use the phrase, it's a bit of a free hit for them, I think.
That's not allowed.
The first of the season.
No, fuck that. I'm not having that.
And no, I think they've got
him off the guest list.
They've got a bit of sort of they've got a bit of capital in the bank. I think tomorrow they can kind of look to maybe try and be on the front foot and have a little go at us. But you know, if they do that, then they're going to come unstuck, I think. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if they were a little bit more attack-minded in front of their own fans. You know, the crowd will be stirring them up. And I think we've just got to be patient and look to pick our moments and pick our opportunities. And I think we will find plenty enough space. I think, you know, you start with the front three again. It's kind of pick your poison time, isn't it, with those three? And as you say, Keita's performance last week went a little bit under the radar initially. I think people have had time.
Very much.
I walked
out of the ground thinking he was quiet.
Yeah, and I think people have had time to sort of look back at that and see that, well, actually, you know, in particular, for one of the goals, you know, the way he held on and then he plays that ball to Robinson. It was the first goal, wasn't it? Yeah. And you know, he is for me gonna. He's not going to get a massive amount of assists, but he's going to be that player who is the player who's playing in the person who then creates the assist, if that makes sense. He's going to be there playing that sort of killer ball that really sort of opens up the opportunities. And I think he is, you know, for me, he's already looking like he's going to be a pivotal part of us progressing on from last season.
I'll stay with you, Ray, right? Because you mentioned something there about, you know, the team storing them up, and, you know, probably the first 20 minutes we just have to, you know, nullify that problem and stuff like that. And I fully agree with that point. I think if you watch Liverpool at Palace over the last couple of seasons, last season in particular, we were kind of dominating the game, but they were still up for it, and that little slip and moment and hesitation from Trent and then Karius comes out and stuff like that. But I think, and don't get me wrong, I think if Palace were to come out and have that crowd behind them and push on, I think, yeah, I'm having that all day, because I think we're much more settled and we're much better than what we do. Do you still think, though, Ray, that they come out and do that, or do you think they come out and say, don't get steamrolled in the first 20 minutes?
Oh, I think their tails will be up. I don't think there'll be an awful lot of negativity in terms of setting their stall out to defend and sort of try and grind out a 0-0 or a 1-0. They particularly in night games that I've seen them play, not just against us, but they're willing to get into a bit of a 2-2-3-2 scenario. So I don't see them. I honestly don't see them coming out and playing negatively tomorrow. Now that might be completely wrong at the end of the day, but I just have a feeling that they will have a certain element of confidence that's been built up from the back end of last season, and then obviously having that big result last week, irrespective of how they got it. But they beat a team 2-0 on the opening day away, which for them was a pretty decent result.
Do you know what? Most teams, I would agree with Ray. Most teams would do that opening home game of the season, jubilant crowd, and as you said, a solid end to the season coupled with the win. Do you know what's going to stop them from going out attack and sort of playing that football? It's that man, Roy Hodgson. He just won't do it. He's gonna look to spoil the party. I think he definitely.
I agree with you. I agree with you as well, Marty. I have to keep going back to this game last season because I'm trying to look at Liverpool where they were then to where they are now, and the personnel. I'm probably looking at 2 or 3 different people on the pitch when we go through the team later. But for me, just being at Anfield last week and looking at them against West Ham, they came out with a swagger about them from minute one, and we're better than these. They didn't get into third gear. They genuinely didn't. But Marty, do you see them coming out, Palace coming out and attacking us? What would you like to see Palace do, which would be best for us, I suppose, is the question.
Play a very high line, come out and attack us from minute one. We tear teams apart when they do that. I personally think they're going to pick their moments. I agree with Grizz. It's Roy Hodgson. You know, he's a dinosaur. His tactics, you know, they're very simple. Put men behind the ball, frustrate teams, and I think he'd be happy to nick a point. But you know, I think they've naturally got players that will do that, whether the manager says to or not. You look at Andros Townsend, Wilfred Zaha. You know, they've brought in one of the Ayew brothers as well. I think it's Jordan. And they naturally just want to get forward. I mean, you look at Zaha, I don't think he's physically capable of sitting behind the ball. So I think, you know, in periods of the game, they will try and come at us. But I think predominantly, yeah, you know, with Hodgson in charge, they're gonna try and frustrate, and ultimately, I think they're going to play for a point. But don't get me wrong, I hope they do come out. I hope they come out from minute one. They try and go for our throat, because we'll tear through them like a knife through butter, and we'll end up battering them. But you know, Palace. The reason I think it's such a difficult ground to go to. I mean, can anyone think of the last team that actually went to Selhurst Park and gave Palace a proper pasting? You know, even you look at last season, Man City went there full of confidence. Obviously, we know they went on to get 100 points. They nearly lost. You know, they 0-0 nearly lost. So no team ever actually goes to Palace and gives them a battering. So I generally can't think of a team that done it.
No, you're probably right. I can't either. And I remember last season when Liverpool equalised early into the second half, I think, with Mane, and you know, the game is to and fro, and Hodgson from half time, you know, onwards, he's trying to shut the game out. We managed to equalise, and he just doesn't want to know. The only chances they get is actually mistakes from us. That's in Benteke, I think, on 2 occasions he misses 2 bad chances. But I think Hodgson for me is not a brave manager in any way, shape or form. I think if he comes out tomorrow, I think he'd be saying, lads, okay, the crowd will be behind you. You'll be high tempo. You'll be the effort will be there, and they might get something off a mistake or a ball in behind to get them going. Even a corner or a throw deep in their half to get them going. But I think if Hodgson looks at that and 15 minutes in, Liverpool are letting Palace attack and then ripping them apart, and then not only that, then getting on the ball, you know, possession style game and controlling it, I think you'll just see Hodgson's team fall further and further and further back. And I think that's why, you know, our fullbacks, Keita, and then even if you went with the same midfield as last week, Milner is going to be important. The front three get narrow and stuff like that. All these sort of options to kind of disconcert them, you know, that way. Because this is going to be probably, I don't know, probably one of the better teams that will sit back and go into this, you know, stereotypical defensive shell against Liverpool, because the fear of striking into people. Grizz, we'll pick a team, all right, for tomorrow night. Don't pick what you want to see. Pick what you think Klopp will go with. Because there's always 2 ways. What do I think? What do I think he'll do? What do you think Klopp will do tomorrow night with regards to the side? You know, factoring in what Palace have, what their threats are, what their weaknesses are. You know, what do you reckon? What way do we go with this?
I think Klopp goes with the same. I think Klopp's the type of manager, you know, he with this sort of team morale type business, even though he's been saying a few things in terms of if any squad players don't like the rotation system, they're going to have Mew to deal with. But I genuinely think, you know, the opening game was so comfortable, and sort of Hendo still working his way towards prime fitness and Fabinho settling in, I don't see how he changes the back four and the front three. So the only dilemma would be that midfield. Now, you asked me what Klopp is likely to do. I really think he's likely to keep the same midfield. If you asked me, and you may ask me later, and if you don't, I'm going to answer you now anyway. I personally would change that.
That's exactly the opposite of what I asked you.
So I would, I mean, I think Klopp goes with what the same team as last week, and then sort of looks to rotate. I think, is there an international gap?
No, we have three more league games before that.
So we play a week later. A whole week later?
Saturday. Well, Saturday.
5 days later.
5 days, yeah.
Yeah, so we could see a bit of rotation maybe in that game. I think we've had a good week's rest. It was, as you said, we didn't really get out of second, third gear against West Ham. I personally think he probably goes with the same lineup.
Okay. Marty, do you agree with Grizz? Does he go with the same lineup? And if not, what changes would you make? Or do you think he'll make,
I think the only change he could make possibly is Genie out, Hendo in. Purely for the fact that Henderson will be smashing his door down to start that game. I think if Hendo had his way, he'd start at the West Ham game, obviously, but he didn't. I think he won his captain in there, to be honest. I think Hendo's obviously a little bit more physical than Wijnaldum as well. And we were saying earlier, Wijnaldum's sort of on the smaller side. I think he's technically better than Henderson, but I think Henderson adds that bit of grit. He'll break the game up when he needs to. He's got that little bit of snide to him. So I think he may go with Henderson to sit in the six, in sort of Milner and Keita to move forward. But again, I could see him sort of going with the same. I think that's the only one that could change is maybe Wijnaldum out and Henderson in.
Yeah, I'm kind of of the opinion that he's looking at these block of 4 games and he's going to stick to a certain side for these 4, and then when he gets through the international break, he has everyone ready and ready to go. Ray, are you sticking with the same team as last week? Because I know you. No, I know you picked the team like it's secret.
I think he does make that one change and gives Hendo 60 minutes tomorrow. He's probably the first player brought off, with the game being 5 days later. You maybe bring Genie back in for the home game against Brighton on Saturday. I don't think in this block of 4 games now, sort of injury to one side, I think he makes very few changes. I think we see Fabinho getting a few substitute appearances, don't necessarily seeing him starting any of these initial 4 games, and then obviously we kick on to some we kick on after the international break into a sort of a run of quite tricky games. I think we've got Spurs away, we've Chelsea away, and then we've got City. I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 other games in between all of that. So I think for this first block of 4 games, I think he stays fairly stable and just makes maybe 1 change, 2 changes maximum per game.
Yeah, I think the Henderson show was an interesting one. I think if Fabinho was fit last Sunday, I think he's probably the first player onto the pitch rather than Henderson in the sub. I think he's kind of had to jolt Henderson forward a bit faster than he would have liked of because of Fabinho having I think it was just a niggle he had. But for me, as I said on a couple of pods, I think they're playing Fabinho into fitness. Don't get me wrong, I think he's fit. I just don't think. I think you have to be a different type of fit to play in this team. You really do. You have to be, the 110%, as people like to say. You nearly have to be that. The Henderson one's interesting because it all depends on the way you look at this game and how it's going to be played. We're after talking about this for a while now, and we think they might come out and attack us, and Henderson's probably our man there. I thought Wijnaldum was outstanding last Sunday. He was my man of the match coming out of the ground. He really was. I don't think he lost the ball. He got stuck in. He broke things up. He switched play well. He done everything that was asked of him. It'll be a little bit harsh on him, I think, for Henderson to come back in, after having a World Cup. But having said that, you're looking at other teams around us. They're bringing all these players back early as well, so you can't really go on that mantra either. I think it's the same team because I'm looking at Palace and I'm thinking, where are they going? They're going to go Benteke from goal kicks. They're going to go from free kicks, deep free kicks. They're going to try all of this. And you don't need a big guy to deal with Benteke. You just need a guy like a la Lucas would have done years ago. And I always go back to this. Stand in front of him, jump around, make it awkward. And the majority of the time, you either defend it well or you pick up the second ball, or even if you don't, you get your shape fairly quickly. You're nullifying that to a certain point. I think he goes with the same team. I genuinely do. And, I see people saying there, we need some height. Maybe on set pieces, yeah, I get that. But and Henderson, he's 6'1", he might probably, he's a bit taller than Wijnaldum. But I still think he goes with the same team. Like West Ham weren't a small team last week. They weren't a small team, lads. No. And, if you looked at their two centre halves, Declan Rice was playing there in the first half, big enough guy. And Tony was a big enough guy. Lucas Anderson was a big guy. Yeah. They weren't a small side. Bar probably their two centre midfielders.
I think the fact that
their left back was a big guy. But they had a couple of set pieces and they were dealt with fairly easily. I think if you get yourself into this mentality that the set pieces are going to be the set pieces, then you start over worrying about them. I think we're all right to deal with them. I think it's the same team. Before we move on to expectations and everything else, we get a prediction, right? Marty, I'll come to you first. Prediction for the game.
2-0. 2-0 comfortable victory. I think I believe in the big Brazilian at the back, yeah. 2-0, clean sheet.
Is he your favourite goalkeeper ever?
Do you know what? I think anyone coming in would have been my favourite goalkeeper ever at the moment. But yeah, I love him already.
There's something we haven't discussed actually. Alisson, this will be the real true test for Alisson. He will be peppered with long balls. I mean, we're going to see sort of a lot of...
He'll be peppered, Grizz, if they go out and they try attack us. I think I'm probably looking at more of Alisson tomorrow as, can he be, out on the edge of his box ready?
Yeah, his concentration levels, his timing of the where Karius was awful. Was it last year where he came out twice or 3 times?
Yeah, well, he came out and he gave a penalty and it wasn't a penalty.
It was a penalty.
It wasn't. The guy kicked the ball at goal and hit it wide and then got a clatter. What does he fucking want? Him to stand aside and go, here, there you go, stick it in the net. He made himself big. Schmeichel done it for fucking years. He jumped into him, Zaha had it. It wasn't a penalty. He won that game 2-0 as far as I'm concerned.
I think Alisson will be definitely tested in terms of when corners and set pieces and throw-ins. I mean, Roy Hodgson, like Marty said, is a proper dinosaur damager. He will play for like sort of corners, like sort of like how rugby play for like sort of throw-ins, similar type, try to gain ground and territory, sort of and get into the danger areas with sort of long throws. So I think it will be our first big test for Alisson. Definitely another further test of Gomez's sort of quality and sort of see how much he's coming on, because say what we want about Benteke, he is a handful. He's not the best finisher, we know, but he is up there in terms of one of the most physically strong strikers. And that partnership with Zaha will definitely be a true test of Gomez's. So I'm actually quite looking forward to I know Marty just predicted 2-0, but it will be a good test to see if we can sort of withhold this. And I'm more interested in the clean sheet as opposed to, we'll always create chances and we'll always get goals on the other side. But can we get clean sheets away to teams like Palace? Even if it's sort of, I don't even want to concede. If it's part of, I'm giving context to Marty.
No, I know you don't. Context, you don't have to tell me.
I'm giving context to Marty's prediction. I haven't come to mine yet.
I know.
So I think I don't even want to concede a goal when it's 3-0 up or 4-0 up. Do you know what I mean? I just want to see sort of a new type professional Liverpool where we just get a clean sheet.
Okay, so what score do you think it'll be, Chris?
2-2.
So instead of just saying, Marty's spot on,
so that's Marty's prediction.
Fucking hell, you must be getting paid by the second, are you? Yeah, okay. Ray, prediction time. You said 5 last week and we got 4. Are you going 4 this week and we get 3?
May as well, wouldn't I? No, I think this week it'll be a 3-1 Liverpool win. I wouldn't be surprised if if Palace either scored first or pegged us back to 1-1. and then we just, our quality shows in the second half, and we sort of pull away towards the end of the game. But yeah, 3-1, I'd be pretty happy with that going into Brighton. It's a tricky game, so 3 points. I'll be happy with a 1-0, 2-1. But look, if we can put a bit of a icing on the cake and win 3-1, more than happy with that.
3-1.
3-1.
Okay, do you want to give me the goal scorers?
Oh, you love that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to say Bobby Firmino with the first. Mo Salah with the second.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say Virgil van Dijk with the third.
Okay. Marty, we've done it to Ray, so who's your 2 goal scorers?
Mane, and I think Keita gets his first.
Okay. Grizz?
I think Mane, and I think Bobby gets off the mark. He didn't score against West Ham, did he?
No.
Benteke is going to score against us, so, Benteke. And I think...
Andros Townsend, I think, for them.
No, what's his name? MacArthur.
I hate him.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Bang average, isn't he? Jeez.
Yeah,
he's like 3 foot and he scored 2 headers against us.
Those bang average ones, Ray. They're the ones.
Yeah.
Bang average ones.
I'm gonna have
Arthur.
I've had a good think about this, and I've listened to Grizz's 25 minutes synopsis on it, and I'm going to go 4-0 Reds.
4-0, top of the league.
Yeah, no, I just think
top
we're going to
Reds.
I think if they come out and play us, I think we have enough about us to deal with them, and it leaves them very, very open. And I don't think they're good enough, especially in midfield, to contain us. If they want to sit back, I think Katie can get in around them. And if Katie gets within 30 yards of goal with 5 yards of space, he's either scoring or he's putting someone in, because the ball he looks to play, even wide or into Firmino and get it back, and he looks like he's starting up a relationship very, very quickly with these front three, Manny in particular, but it grew with Firmino as the game went on last week as well. Scorers, Mane, Keita, Robertson.
Oh, that'll be lovely for my FB4.
Robbo.
I'll take that. I think this is a game where we have to go and say, yeah, we spent well in the summer. We were a different animal, and don't get me wrong, the animal last season was good, but we're a different animal now. We can deal with you whatever way you want to play, and we can actually hurt you no matter what way you play. And just last week, they weren't even able to talk here. It was like literally Liverpool were playing in slow motion, and West Ham couldn't keep up. So yeah, I'm going to go 4-0 because I can. And then when next week comes around, there'll be all sorts of trouble, because I fucking done it. We lost 1-0 to a McCarter header. What can you do? That's life. I can't.
Bang average.
I'm not even picking. Fucking Ray there is picking the team, and I get all the abuse next week. Lads, just one thing I want to touch on. You've probably seen it on Twitter, and mostly on Twitter, all the kind of social media, from the Day Trippers, and that's the new studio that you will see for the first time on Tuesday night. Ray is going to be the host. I think he's alternating with Phil for this season. Is that
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be this week because I'm actually in Liverpool. No. Oh yeah. Through the season, on a Tuesday club.
You'll be alternating with Phil.
Yeah.
So when we asked Ray to be a host on the show, he said, "Yeah, but I want the fucking studio." So we had to go build him. So that was his demand. But you'll see it online. I'm not going to say too much about it, but there's a lot of lads there. We all have full-time jobs, wives, kids, debts, you name it. But there's a serious amount of work on it over the last couple of months to get this to where it is. You'll see it for the first time on Tuesday night. I think it's 9 o'clock Tuesday night. It'll go live, Tuesday Club. But if you get a chance, go and watch it. Share it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel subscription is very important for this season. You're going to find that out as the season goes on, because some of our stuff will be YouTube only. So when you go looking for this stuff, you go, they didn't do anything. We did. We just had to have it on YouTube, and you're not subscribed. Just hit the subscribe button. You get a little alert when we're online, and then you'll stuff that you won't see on Periscope or get on an audio feed you will get on YouTube. But keep an eye out for that on Tuesday night. If everyone can watch it and share it and, hype it up as best you possibly can on Tuesday night, that's what we want. Enough of that. Let's move on. The expectations for the season, lads. a lot of Liverpool fans think we can go close. A lot of Liverpool fans think we can win it. Then some Liverpool fans just think, no, Man City are on a different fucking level, and it's a little bit defeatist for me, that attitude. But Marty, looking over the whole season, you have a league campaign, you've a League Cup, FA Cup, you have Champions League. What would you like to see Liverpool do over this season? And I'll caveat that with, if we get around, say, the turn of February coming into March, and we've Champions League and we have League and we've FA Cup and we're right in there, would you go full throttle at them all, or would you kind of knock one on the head to make sure we get another one? What way you think for this season?
It's a difficult one, because I think this season we need silverware. We've not had anything since 2012. We play such good football. I think our football warrants having a trophy. I mean, when you see, Mourinho with his disgusting Route 1 football and he gets silver, I think we need something, even if it's a League Cup, not necessarily like a Champions League or anything of that calibre. But I'd like to see us get something in. I think we need to mount a serious title challenge, a serious one where, we're getting to the run in the last 5 games and you can't call it. I mean, I'd like us to be 10 points ahead and have the league sewn up. But, being realistic, I think we need to be bang in the race, not in and around then in February, City are pulling away. I think, going back to one of Grizz's points about saying it was, it's obviously game 2, whereas he's got a point, I also think you don't want to be letting City get away this early. They're not going to drop many points. We have to be picking up points near enough week in, week out. So I think, in a nutshell, a serious title challenge, I think we need that, and some silverware and a good Champions League run again. I think, you look at the fan base, you look at social media, what it was like when we were, we were in the latter stage of the Champions League. We were beating, obviously, City, Roma. I can't remember when I saw the fans unite in that much positive energy going around for a long, long time. And I think getting that going again can only be a good thing. So yeah, like I said, in a nutshell, good, solid title challenge, and a bit of silverware and a good Champions League run would be a good season for Liverpool, I think.
Do you think we need to win a trophy regardless of what it is?
I don't think we need to win a trophy. I think we deserve a trophy. I think, the players we've got. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think with the players we've got, if we didn't get silverware this season, it would be disappointing. I think you look at the spine of our team. I think it's the second best behind City. You look at, you got Alisson, Van Dijk, Keita, Firmino, and then you look at the players off it. I don't think we need it, but I think it would be a big disappointment if we didn't get anything.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Ray, the season ahead. I don't know if you live close to Andy, but Andy is the most positive person in the whole wide world, and he's just, we're winning everything. He's unbelievable. Andy's amazing. He is a super fan. He's that's where the term came from. It's because of Andy. Ray, for you, and I know being in the Trippers WhatsApp group can drag you right down to, if we got mid-table, we'd be happy because that's our miserable bastards. But for you, if it hasn't dragged you down too much, what do you see for this season? What do you expect for this season? I suppose, what's your hopes?
Yeah, look, I think we have now got a squad that's good enough to challenge for the league, and my view is probably a little bit different from previous seasons in that I want us to go kind of all in to win the league this season, and I say that kind of with a heavy heart in a way, because I too would love some silverware, but at the same time I think we've got to really look at deprioritising the likes of the League Cup and the FA Cup this season to just go fairly single-mindedly after this title race with City, because I think, Tottenham will fall short. I think Chelsea will fall short. We've seen Arsenal, how Arsenal have started the season. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they'll get back on track in a way. I think this is a straight shootout between ourselves and City this season. And the funny thing is, what I think might be able to tip it in our balance if we do manage to stay sort of neck and neck with them, or certainly within, say, 3 to 5 points of them come towards the back end of the season, would be if they had the Champions League run like we did last season to the final, and we sort of got as far as maybe the first knockout round. That would actually go in our favour in terms of the league push. So for me, my hope this season is completely and utterly centred on winning the league. And when I came out, before I came out the ground on Sunday, obviously basking in the glory of winning that first game so handily, but I just turned around to the fella who sits in front of me at the game, and I said to him, I said, if we don't win this league this season, I will be absolutely gutted. And that's where I am, unfortunately. You know, it's kind of all or nothing for me now for the league this season.
You was drunk, Ray?
I was almost sober.
Yeah,
I was
but
still drunk
the bloke
from the night before.
The bloke in front of him was out with us the night before, so he hadn't got a clue. Come here, Ray, just to stick with you before I go to Grizz, I'll put this scenario to you, okay? I've said it to Marty there, if we're coming around February, March, and we're in things, there'll be knock-one on the head. And Marty has a point there. We probably deserve a trophy because of the football we play. And people that argue, no, you don't, you have to win these things, and, you know, you get the fun, you should do better and stuff like that. And that's a fair point as well. There was some mitigating circumstances in the final in May, in my opinion. Well, it was clear to see there was problems there. But say, for argument's sake, Ray, we went and we pushed City to the second last day, and we didn't win another trophy. Would that be enough? Because no, it
probably wouldn't. I would feel a little bit robbed that you know, if we push City in a similar manner to 13, 14 and come up short, I will be gutted. And it won't be because we haven't won an FA Cup or we haven't won a League Cup. You know, we've won those trophies multiple times. You know, we've won a Champions League since we last won the league. You know, okay, I'm old enough to remember us winning a league, and you know, I was at Anfield when we paraded the league trophy around on a couple of occasions. But it's been so long that we've assembled such an unbelievable squad of players, which for me far outweighs what we did, you know, what we assembled in 13, 14. And I just think, yeah, it's sod's law that we're up against a City team who are more than capable of getting 100 points for a second season in a row. But I just think, you know, the cards may fall in a slightly different way towards the back end of the season. And I'm just hoping that we can keep this title race tight, you know, for the 3 quarters of the season that we need to, and then just have that run at the end of the season to get us over the line. So no, I'd be disappointed if we come second by 3 points. I really would be.
Yeah, I'm very torn on this. I'll go last. Grizz, hope, expectation.
I'm going to keep it brief.
You're going to keep it brief? Okay. Listen, I'll just open a bottle of beer here and I'll just get it finished by the time
I know.
Yeah.
Go on, mate. What hoping? I'm only messing with you, know I am. What's your hope and expectation?
I'm kind of with Marty in terms of, I think we need a trophy. And I know we guys have discussed this before and we've kind of disagree on this in terms of Matt and Ian sort of say, fuck the League Cup and the FA Cup and whatever. I think it's, for me, it's vital that we get a trophy on board just to get that monkey off Klopp's back in terms of finals and not winning anything. And it just sort of, it breeds confidence and sort of, not arrogance, it just breeds confidence into the players and clubs that, yes, we can win things. And look, I'm not as far down the line as Ray in terms of, I think our squad is one window. Oh, I know we don't buy in January, but I think our squad is one sort of summer window away from competing on all fronts at equal strength. You know, I genuinely think that. So but I still think our squad's strong enough to win a League Cup, for example. You know, I think we've got a core of about 18 players there, 17 players.
Yeah, but that's a cop-out for this squad of League Cup. And I know what people say. It's a stepping stone. Mourinho done it in 2004/4.
No, I mean,
get that. But Grizz,
yeah, but I don't want to be.
You can't put a squad together like this and come around in February and go, "Oh, we won a League Cup."
Yeah, but I don't want to be. No. Let me finish in it. Bloody hell!
I thought you were going to be brief.
So I don't want to. What I'm saying is, I don't want to cop out of the League Cup and FA Cup and then still finish second, third. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
My expectation is, which was your question, My expectation is to win something and challenge, as Ray says, challenge City. I want to make it an interesting battle. I don't think we're as good as them. Most people will agree over the course of season, they are the team to beat, and they've shown it so far as well. But it will be a two-horse race, I think, in my opinion. And with 4 or 5 games to go, I'd love to be there or thereabouts. The Champions League is a bonus. We're kind of guaranteed with our crowd, with our stature, with our sort of, the experience of Europe to get to the quarterfinals. Anything after that is a bonus. It's brilliant. It's brilliant for the fan base. But I'm looking at a League Cup, FA Cup win, and a real good tilt at City. Okay. That's my expectation.
All right. I think it's a hard balancing act, if I'm being honest. I think if we push City all the way, and win it, great stuff. Just come up slightly short and don't win something else. I go, yeah, well, look, we put our eggs in that league basket and we win for it, and it just come up short of us. I think if we get too far behind City and we don't put a title challenge on, and then we don't win something of the other 3, and I include the Champions League in that, I think then you have a problem, because then you have a squad that wasn't good enough for the league and knew it wasn't at a certain stage, and then went off to do these things with these other 3 cups and didn't win them. Then you have to start questioning 1 or 2 things. It's a very hard balancing act. My expectation for the season is to win the league, genuinely to win the league. City are amazing, and City are brilliant, and 100 points is not to be, anyone will take it. It's phenomenal. You're saying they're better than us. I don't agree. I think with 11 against 11, both teams with our first 11 on the pitch, I think we beat.
No, I mean as a squad.
And that's the only question. It's the squad. I think we've improved our squad, and I think not only improved it in numbers, but we've improved it with identifying where players can play and when they can play, and none of these things in Solanke fucking carry on. That was fucking outrageous.
He scored yesterday. Hang on, he scored yesterday.
Yeah, not for us, he didn't. You know what I mean? But that was outrageous stuff that went on last season. And I don't care what anybody says about, we're in the Champions League. I'm not getting into that again because I educated enough people about that last season.
That got us into top 4, Gav.
Yeah, well, don't fucking start it. But no, I think Klopp has identified what players can play and where they can play, and he's not going to. I hope he doesn't, put the team in jeopardy or results in jeopardy for the sake of playing certain players when they're not good enough, and I hope he doesn't. My expectation is to win the league. My hope is to win the league, and if we go out in the group stage of the Champions League, go out to fucking Wrexham in the League Cup, I don't even know if Wrexham do they exist anymore, and fucking Port Vale in the Cup, and in the third round of the FA Cup at home, on the telly. I'll take all of them if we go and win that league. That's my expectation. Lads, look, we go around the table for the crack. Finishing position for the season. Ray, I'll come to you first.
First by a point.
Yes, very good. You see, that's what you get for living there, Andy. Marty, finishing position.
We win it.
You win it. Oh,
we win it.
Here comes Grizz to burst all the bubbles. Grizz.
5th.
We're going to finish 2nd, but it's going to be a brilliant race this year. It really is.
Okay, Stephen Kingsley agrees with you, Grizz. He says 2nd. He also asked earlier, how many points do you think Liverpool would get this season? And I think he meant by that was to win it. I think we win it. I think we do. I think we can turn, and not even February, March, I think it'll be turned into the new year and we're within a point to see you're even ahead of them. And the momentum gets going and people are out throwing balls at Copperberg or buses going down the Anfield Road from early January onwards. I think nothing stops us. Nothing fucking stops us. I think you end up where you're getting out the last 6-7 games and you're going away to pick a team, Bournemouth, and I think not Bournemouth because the ground only holds about 4,000. Go away to pick a team, Newcastle for argument's sake, and I think you're seeing pockets of Liverpool fans all over that ground because that's how much hype is going to go and they'll be getting tickets from everywhere. So I think we win it, and I think we win it on 93 points. How many points, right?
I had exactly the same number of points in my head, 93.
Yeah, nice one. Marty, how many points?
Oh, it'll be in around 93, 95. It's gonna be high. But saying that, I think City will hit 100 again. So 101.
93 v 92.
Nice one. Grace, how many points do you
Well, I've
think?
done.
You were saying we're second, so how many points do City need to beat us?
Yeah, well, I've done a game-by-game calculation.
All right. Just in that 45 seconds.
And I've worked it out that we actually, at the end of the season, get 91 points, and City win it with 96.
City win it with 96.
Mm.
Okay. Right. Well, I apologise for Grace. The rest of us are trying our best, and Grace is just not having it. No, I think Grace. I think we'll be all right. Lads, just looking around the we'll finish off on this, but looking around the league, and I know it's only 2 games in for everybody, bar us and Palace. Anybody surprised you so far? Anybody, underwhelming? Anyone that's just pure funny to watch? I'm giving you all the license you need there with that one. But Ray, anyone that's surprised you? Whether it be good or bad? Anything that's kind of jumped out over the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, I suppose surprise-wise, Bournemouth winning the first 2 games. After last week, I went away thinking, West Ham had the potential to do okay this season, but after going a goal up yesterday, I watched quite a bit of that second half because I had a sort of a betting interest in it, and Bournemouth were just so in control. Once they'd gone 2-1 up, so for them to win 2 games, obviously Watford have won 2 games. I've honestly thought Everton have looked okay. I think without that sending off against Wolves, they're probably going to win that game. And then obviously they have the double whammy of the red cards and Wolves scoring from the free kick, which was pretty hilarious when you stand and watching it in a bar in Liverpool, as we all were last Saturday. But I thought they were pretty deep. They were in control first half yesterday. I watched most of their first half before switching my attention to the West Ham Bournemouth game. So I think Everton and Palace for me are probably the 2 teams that I'd expect to fill those kind of 7th and 8th sort of positions, and maybe Watford will carry on their good form.
Yeah. Marty, I'm just going to throw it straight at you. I've watched United twice, and I thought they were dominated by Leicester last Friday night, and I thought they were just all over the fucking place today. Do you think he lasts? Do you think he sees the season out? Do you think he sees Christmas? Because the interview after the game today, and he was back in his narky ways and having snide little digs, even at the female, interviewer. It wasn't great.
Yeah, I'd be amazed. I think you can see a similar thing to Chelsea, where you've got a standoff between the board, or theoretically the board of the club, and the manager. Look, Mourinho. If Mourinho walks, he doesn't get his payoff. And if Man United want to sack him, they absolutely stupidly gave him a new deal at the back end of last season, which it probably has an astronomical sacking clause in it. It's just with discussions they'll probably get that down to 8-10 million. So you may end up seeing a standoff. One may give. I think if anyone does, it'll be the club. Mourinho will be happy to sit there like the leech he is, taking the money and wait for the payoff. But I think Man United are in real trouble. I think they're in real trouble. I think when a club decides to bring Jose Mourinho in, you're not planning for the future. And if you think you are, then you haven't done your homework on Jose Mourinho. He's a 3-season manager. He needs a lot of money, and he will buy players that are 29, 30, 31. And you see that in the summer when he wanted to sign Alderweireld, he wanted to sign Boateng, he wanted Perisic. And I think you saw, this season, Ed Woodward, is said no. And I think as soon as you get that, that conflict between a manager and a board, and you've got completely different visions, they're in some real trouble. And like you said, you look at the Leicester game, and they were shite. They really were. They got a penalty in the first, 60, 70 seconds of the game. They got a jammy volley from Luke Shaw, and you know, it was game over at that point. But they got played off the park by Leicester.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was. I think it was at Old Trafford, you know. And then you look at today, and you know they were woeful. You know, they were absolutely atrocious. I mean, the goal they
Don't
scored
forget,
again.
this is the Brighton that we played. Don't forget, this is the Brighton that we played. Gini Wijnaldum and Emre Can at the back against. So, bear that in mind.
Absolutely,
They didn't have a shot. Brighton didn't have a shot on target last week in their first game. I seen Chris Hughton interviewed, and he was absolutely disgusted with the way they played last week in the opening game. So for them to come out and basically beat United handily, I know they got a pen at the end, but come on.
I mean, let's look at it as well. You talk about City's squad, and City have got their depth is absolutely ridiculous. But then you look at Manchester United, and you think, you know, their squad is actually really, really good. I mean, you look at their attacking options. You know, they've got Lukaku, Alexis Sanchez, Martial, Rashford. If you took that squad and you gave that to Klopp, Pep Guardiola, Pochettino, they would do so much better. They're a good team. And, you know, Mourinho he cannot get them playing for whatever reason. But, you know, they're in trouble. And I think for the first time, you know, you go back and forth, you banter the Man United fans, but I think for the fact that they're not a threat to even the top four, to be honest with you, let alone, you know, the top two battling for the league. I think they're in absolute disarray. And I think, you know, by Christmas, you know, Mourinho's gone. He's sacked.
Chris, anyone good, bad, or indifferent for you? Anyone surprise you? No.
Yeah, they've had a decent start. West Ham, where everyone, oh my God, everyone in the world. And I said West Ham will go. I said West Ham will be one of the relegation.
Oh, Grizz's internet.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Oh,
I don't know what did I say.
I asked you a question there, and you just sat staring at me for about 14 seconds. Can you hear me again? No, he's gone. He's gone. I'll come back to you, Grizz. Knock on the router and knock off the router, and then count to 5 and knock it back on. Can you hear me now, Grizz?
I can hear you, Gav.
Great stuff. Grizz, anyone bad, good, indifferent?
I heard you.
Before the moon runs out of the meter.
I heard you thinking that I'm staring at you for 14 seconds. Trust me, I would never stare at you for 14 seconds. Trust me. West Ham, I said. Bournemouth have surprised me, as Ray said, pleasantly. Wolves have disappointed me. I thought Wolves would have started better with all their signings, and I think he's a top manager. Slight disappointment, but it's early doors. You know, West Ham, everyone was shouting from the rooftops about their signings all summer. And I said they're going to be relegation fodder, and they are. They will be. And in the midfield, that's going to play Mark Noble and Jack Wilshere in central midfield. Come on, you're asking for trouble, mate. You're asking for trouble. But, I think, you know, after 10 games, it all settles down. But so far, yeah, Bournemouth have been very, very impressive with two tricky games, and they've come out of it really well. Good young manager there.
Yeah, for me, I think Huddersfield have disappointed me. I know they've had two very, very hard games to start off with Chelsea at home, City away, but to fall like they have is not Wagner's kind of way of playing or the mentality he has towards the game. Everton, I think as Ray said, they look all right. I think it might get a little bit tricky for them when these players actually come into the squad. You know, I think that it's kind of fallen for them well that they've been left with a certain team from last season, although they underachieved. They know each other and they know each other well. They come up against the Wolves team that are new in the league, and they probably should have won the game. You know, with contested red card, probably was in my opinion. But like Ray said, they could have 6 points. They come up against the Southampton, who I worry for big time. I just don't see where the goals come from, and I don't think they're good enough at the back. Who else? On United. Listen, that's just the way he works, and it's the way he's always worked. And if he doesn't get what he wants, he throws a strop. And this time he's thrown a strop, and he's pointed fingers at many players. And just the chemistry and the kind of unity between the players doesn't look there. And it's probably because he's given out to one, and then the other guy doesn't like that he's being given out to, and it kind of spreads around the squad. I agree with Marty. I don't think he sees Christmas unless they go on a serious run, because if he loses the Spurs next week which I don't think he will because Spurs roll over at Old Trafford and have their bellies tickled fucking year on year. But if he loses to Spurs next week and Liverpool go and win get tomorrow one against Brighton and next of all they're 6 points down after 3 games, that's a huge thing. I know it's only 3 games in, but it's a huge thing. Anybody else? Bournemouth, yeah, done quite well. It'll all take shape in the first 7 or 8 games, but I'd worry for Cardiff, I'd worry for Southampton, and Huddersfield need to get their act together, and they need to get their act together quick because they'll that sort of run can just go on and on and on, and it's very, very hard to get out of it. Lads,
I don't think Gav this season, a bit like last season, I don't think you'll need a huge amount of points to stay up. Like, I don't think teams are going to need anywhere near 40 points. I think some of that comes from the fact
if the teams at the top are hitting 93
exactly,
or 90 plus,
exactly.
the teams at the bottom don't need 40. They need
exactly.
34, 35. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of going to be the marker, really. So for teams like Watford and Bournemouth, who've already got 6 points on the board, that's a massive, that's a massive start to already have those 6 points on the board. The most enjoyable game for me so far this season was watching that Chelsea-Arsenal game yesterday. I mean, the two of them just forgot how to defend at various parts of that first half. Arsenal probably should have been 3-4-2 up at half time. It was a ridiculous first half. It was a bit calmer in the second half, but I think Arsenal will get their act together. I think they're just adjusting, aren't they, to that whole business of playing out from the back. Cech doesn't seem incredibly comfortable with it, and
he doesn't seem comfortable with his own legs, basically.
Yeah, and they've obviously bought another keeper, but they're not playing him at the moment, which is a bit of a strange one. But I think they will get their act together, so it's probably no bad thing that they've started the season off sort of at a bit of a handicap by losing their first 2 games. But look, if United do kind of disintegrate, then Arsenal might take advantage and sneak back into that 4th spot.
Yeah, no, it's possible.
I think as much as it pains me is Chelsea quite impressed me. I know they had that wobble against Arsenal defensively; they looked a bit poor, but Chelsea at the beginning, back end of the summer, obviously going to a transfer window. You did worry for Chelsea. It looked like Abramovich was putting his money out. Obviously the issue with Conte. Had no idea who the manager would be, etc. But I think they've got Sarri in, and I really rate Sarri. I think he's brilliant. I think the football he plays is magnificent. I think they've to get 6 points on the board. We consider the state they were in about 5-6 weeks ago. I think they could be a surprise contender. I don't think they'll quite run anyone to a title, but I think Chelsea will be the one that will sneak back into the top 4. I think they seem to have just that one signing, Jorginho. They've just sat him there like a deep line playmaker. And he's looked like he's been in the Prem for 10 years. He looks absolutely awesome. And I think they've impressed me quite a bit. Long way to go, but first couple of games, I think they've looked good. Go away, Grizz.
Grizz is disagreeing with you there. The thing is, yeah, I get where you're coming from with Chelsea looking okay, but I think a more streetwise came up against them. That would
if Sarri persists,
was I talking there? I was
such nonsense. Go on, carry on.
No, you go on.
I'll let you carry on.
Get your fucking way anyway. Go on.
No, I was gonna say, if Sarri persists with Jorginho as the deepest lying midfielder and Kante as box to box, they won't challenge the top 3 or 4. If he persists with Jorginho as the deepest, and then persists with Luiz and Rudiger playing on the halfway line.
Well,
to be fair, if Arsenal persist with checking goal, they'll get relegated.
Oh, forget
Well, I tell you, the funny thing is, listen to the trees here. This is why it looks like it's a 2-horse race because that's you can pick the bones of Chelsea, Arsenal, United, Spurs for me. They're going around saying 5 contracts, like 5 new signings. They're off their rocker. They've lost 500 million quid somewhere. They don't know where they put it. They buried it under the fucking stadium, I think. And they're trying to dig it up before they have to play their first game.
That's why the delay.
Yeah, the delay. They're digging a manhole to try to get their money back. But Spurs for me is very interesting. I think if Spurs hit a patch and they struggle, I think it may get it could get difficult for them very, very fast. You know, they don't have a lot in reserve, in my opinion, and if they get into a 2 or 3 game rut, it could get a bit messy for them. But then again, you have Harry Kane and he guarantees you 30 goals a season, so that'll always get you somewhere. But that's like, just listening to you as it sounds, that's why you can put the case forward for the 2 horse race, because you're literally picking the bones out of Arsenal, Chelsea, United, and Spurs, and us two are left ourselves in City. But look, we'll see how it is. We come back next week and for all the weeks after that, and we keep discussing it. We've all predicted a win for the Reds tomorrow. We've all picked our goal scorers. Grizz is going. If you see Grizz at the game, get your word in quick, because the window of opportunity to speak is very, very small. But he's actually genuinely, he's a top bloke. Genuinely, he's a top bloke. He's fucking brilliant. We came with him last week. It was unreal. But lads, it felt bad for the days after it did, but it was good at the time. And we'll do it again soon. We definitely will. Lads, I'm going to leave it there. And that's been the Fatback 4. Grizz, pal, he's always with me. Marty, it's been a pleasure. We'll have you back on again soon. Ray,
thanks for having me.
Ray, you go down tomorrow now and check out that studio. It's sufficient for you and your surroundings. And we'll make sure we get you in there as soon as we can. But look, that's been the Fatback 4. Thanks for joining us. It's been amazing. It's been great. Hopefully the Reds do the business tomorrow, and you'll see the Tuesday Club live from the new studio on Tuesday, and you'll have the cop table on Friday, and us again back next Sunday, and we go from there. And yeah,